For 8 months, I have been recording Rich Does a Thing with my microphone backwards. 8 months. 8 months! This is episode, 24? So, 23 episodes of Rich Does a Thing, and who knows all the other extra stuff. The microphone that you are now using to listen to me has been backwards. Yeah, just completely backwards. So all the fanciness that we had was less fancy. We might as well have had the camera turned around. We could have had the computer upside down. We could have had so many other things. No, microphone backwards. I was adjusting it for another project. I was kind of moving the little pop filter windscreen thing on it. And as I adjusted it up, I couldn't help but notice it said back. It said back, and I was like, really? Back, back, front, back? And I turned it around. I unadjusted screws in twisty bits, and I flipped it around. And suddenly, there was a whole new world of knobs, other knobs. There was a plug, because I wasn't looking at it the right way. It was turned around. It was listening this way, and I was talking to it from behind, and so now it's turned around correctly. You can hear me maybe better. So there's that. I guess we're always learning, aren't we? So lately I found myself with a little bit of extra time, but more specifically, more time that I could have background TV. I could be working on something and having something playing in the background, but at the same time, something that I actually wanted to see, and so I've decided to go back and rewatch Star Trek Enterprise. That's the one with Scott Bakula as the Captain Archer. Which always makes me think of the cartoon Archer, but completely different. So I went back and I rewatched Enterprise, which, man, we should say that it got panned hard by some of the hardcore Star Trek fans. But you know what? Now that I'm really kind of thinking about it, the more that I dig into the internet, I notice that every Star Trek has been panned hard by the hardcore Star Trek fans. It's the nature of sci-fi. If you look, there's going to be people that just poo on everything because it's, I don't know. I feel like it didn't do so well. It also was only 4 seasons long, which is half the duration of any of the other Star Treks. So to a certain degree, it was less successful, but I didn't necessarily dislike it the first time, so I decided to go through and rewatch it. So I did. And as I'm watching it, sometimes as I'm watching shows, I will see things and my body decides that things need to happen, whether it's a vocalization or a physical gesture of something. Watching Futurama, I used to watch Futurama all the time when it was on TV. It was, part of Adult Swim or whatever. And as the theme would go, I just had to, just kind of had to rock out to it. Get the beat with boom, do do do, do 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 do. Even whether it was that whole full body thing, or even just the hand gesture or whatever. When I'm hanging out just by myself or whatever, it's just something I do. It's something that my body feels it needs to happen. It's a kind of semi-emotional connection with the creators of that thing, of yes, and I'm with you, and I don't know, just enjoying it. Part of the human experience, I guess. So as I was starting to watch Enterprise, I would watch the episode, we'd get to the end, and I was happy that I was getting to rewatch these things. There was a joy. And so the episode ends, ta-da, and then there's the end credits, which, is like the executive producers or something like that. And the first guy, hold on, haha, I was right. Rick Berman, which is the one that I didn't think I remembered quite as much, because it was, so it says, executive producers Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. So Rick Berman is, whatever. It's a pretty normal name, but Brannon Braga, it just was this really odd, interesting name, and so my brain just kind of latched onto that. Had this triumphant cry of, Brannon Braga! And it meant nothing to me. It was words. I knew it was a name, but my brain just latched onto it as, haha, Star Trek, or something. And so, episode after episode, I would see it, and in my head, Brannon Braga! Eventually, I said it so many times to myself. I didn't actually say it out loud, because I'd probably be waking up Jessie, because I was usually watching late at night. And so it got to the point where I said, all right, I need to look up who this dude is, because I'm going to catch myself in a public setting shouting his name. Brannon Braga! And someone's going to call me out. They're gonna know something about him. He's gonna be maybe like a terrible person, and I will have been triumphantly shouting his name. So I looked him up. He's actually been with Star Trek for a while. He actually started with The Next Generation, which is, my favorite. That's the Star Trek that got me started, as I had told you about. So he started out as a writer on The Next Generation in Season 4, pretty much Season 4, Episode 7, called Reunion. He actually started as a writer for TNG, and he eventually became co-producer in the final season 3 years later. He actually co-wrote both the movies Generations and First Contact, and he also helped produce Voyager from the start. Dude's kind of ingrained in Star Trek, from my beginnings of it at very least. So he was doing all that. He was part of the big Voyager thing, and then he actually left Voyager after season 5 so that he could start producing Enterprise. And he did that until the very end of Enterprise. He was actually apparently kicked out of writing for Enterprise after the third season due to grievous continuity errors and his apathy for adhering to Star Trek canon, which is kind of crazy, because if these are essentially your stories, if you've been through it since the second half of Next Generation through Voyager, why wouldn't you want to stick to the things that were happening in your stories? So they kind of took him out of the whole picture of Star Trek stuff in 2004. He was kind of taken out from there. But still, he's a big Star Trek dude. Now, to continue on with his career, I have to notice that 10 years later, in 2014, he actually hooked up with Seth MacFarlane. Okay, so, other cool thing. Seth MacFarlane, I feel like they probably knew each other earlier, because something else that I noticed through Star Trek Enterprise is there are these celebrity cameos that I didn't catch the first time around, such as Tom Bergeron, like Dancing with the Stars and America's Funniest Home Videos and Hollywood Square. Tom Bergeron is an alien in Enterprise. Like he's this unique kind of alien. They're having discussions back and forth. I think he's like a traitor kind of guy, and he's a very Tom Bergeron-y alien, which is interesting. But then another thing is that I just happened to kind of hear a familiar voice, and I looked up, and when I looked up, I see Seth MacFarlane in a uniform as kind of a lackey. He's apparently Ensign Rivers in Star Trek Enterprise. So he's this ensign, and the chief of engineering is bossing him around. Hey, we need to get these things done and this and this. And Seth MacFarlane's like, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. And then runs off and does a thing, or gets yelled at because something's broken, or whatever. But still, it's Seth MacFarlane, Mr. Family Guy, Mr. American Dad, Mr. So much else, is right there on Enterprise. And so I thought that was a really cool kind of cameo. And then turns out he comes back for another cameo or two. I'm pretty sure Ensign Rivers ends up in 4 different episodes. At very least 3 different episodes. I think there might have been another episode. He might have been somebody else. It's complicated. Doesn't matter. Seth MacFarlane was on Enterprise 4 different times. At one point, his character even left the ship, and he was working on another ship, but then they just happened to run into each other, so then he was working on the ship again. What in the world? So, he knew Seth MacFarlane. And then, so later on, he hooked up with Seth MacFarlane again in 2014. He hooks up with Seth MacFarlane again, and they co-produce Cosmos, the reboot of Cosmos, this time featuring Neil deGrasse Tyson. because Seth MacFarlane is a huge space nerd, space geek guy. He loves, everything from that, the sci-fi and Star Trek, big Star Trek fan. So it was kind of cool that those two guys hooked up for that. And again, I didn't even realize. In fact, to keep going further with that, Brannon Braga and Seth MacFarlane got together to start The Orville. That's right. This show that was on network TV, now it's going to be a Hulu-specific thing. If you haven't seen it, it's a Seth MacFarlane starring and I believe co-written. It's very Star Trek. It's so very Star Trek, even though it's not the same canon, it's not the same, nobody has the rights to be able to use anybody else's stuff, but it feels so very Star Trek. I started watching it before Jessie. She watched in, and she was mad that I had found new episodes of Star Trek that I was watching without her, and I had to explain that it wasn't, that it was something else completely different. But yeah, so Brannon Braga is a producer and director of The Orville. So this dude that was so deep in Star Trek, working on The Orville, I think is one of the big reasons why it feels so very Star Trek. So crazy that he's done all these things and gotten kicked out from some of those things, and it is kind of neat to be able to look all these things up. So yeah, Brannon Braga. And honestly, fair. Yeah, I probably would have thought that bar would have gone across the bottom, and here we are. So, yeah, I deserved that. All right, next up is actually a really cool surprise. It's a surprise for you, it's a surprise for me, because I forgot I had done this. So, it's been difficult to go out and explore some things lately. And so I've been sad that I haven't been able to bring some of that to you guys. And then I realized, I actually kind of stumbled upon this stuff that I had already recorded for you. So, last fall, I think this is actually before the official launch of Rich Does a Thing, Jessie and I and my parents, we got to go up to New England, and we went on Jessie's first whale watch. So, we went down to Massachusetts, and we went out and we saw ourselves some whales. And in the process, I figured it's something that I would want to share with you guys. So I recorded some stuff. So now you get to experience this whale watch with me, with us, with everybody. So let's go on a whale watch. Take it away, me. All right, so here we are in Newburyport, Massachusetts. We actually traveled, it's a little past an hour away from where home is, and we are here to actually go on a whale watch, which is the first time in a while that I've had a chance to go. I actually got one of the seasickness patches behind my ear to try to help even everything out. Hopefully that works pretty well. It's pretty sunny now. I think sometimes we might be getting some clouds as we go around. They have these really cool sculptures that are kind of near where the boat is as well. And we're going to go on this boat that's around the corner. And so decent size, 2 or 3 levels, and we're going to see what we can see for some whales. Hopefully we have some good luck. Let's go.
When they want to swim, they turn upright and kind of swim like a normal fish, even though they don't really look anything like a normal fish. These are pretty weird looking fish. Probably one of the ugliest fish you'll ever see, but I think one of the coolest. And these ocean sunfish can get very large. Again, largest bony fish species in the world. They can get up to 10 feet long and weigh thousands of pounds. Dolphins right here up next to us. These are Atlantic white-sided dolphins. So those are over here on the right now, 3 o'clock. So these Atlantic white-sided dolphins are a cold water dolphin species that lives here year-round. If you like the cold water here in New England. Many people, when they think of dolphins, they think of bottlenose dolphins down in the warmer waters, but these are cold water dolphins. This is our most common dolphin sighting that we have here in the Gulf of Maine. Though they do live here year-round, we don't get to see them every day. Mostly just because they're a little bit smaller and can be harder to spot from a distance. We actually have had quite a few pods around the past week or so, which is very nice. Always a fun sighting when we get to spend time with these dolphins. So they're all kind of spread out on the right-hand side of the boat right now. Dolphins here, this pod of Atlantic white-sided dolphins is sometimes we do see groups of dolphins hanging out with fin whales. We're not really sure why they do this. We see it more so with these two species. We don't usually see dolphins hanging out with other large whale species. So I'm not really sure why, but it's not completely uncommon for us to have dolphins near these fin whales. I just think it's really cool to see the size difference of these two side by side.
I saw it.
There's some little baby dolphins mixed in with this group that are absolutely adorable.
Oh,
just
yeah.
across the bow. Well, right next to us here. Stunning look at this huge animal. The baleen whales do not have any teeth in their mouth. They instead have a filtering system made up of hundreds of baleen plates. These baleen plates are in their mouth. They're hanged out from their lower jaw, exactly where the teeth should be. It's a place of teeth. And it's more like a filter or strainer than teeth. They're not chewing their food at all. They're actually straining it. All of our large whales in this area. Really nice look at this minke whale here at 11. So it looks like they were doing feeding a little bit underneath the surface that time. But some of those bubble clouds that came up ahead of these whales, these whales are using bubble feeding to corral the fish. Looks like they're gonna head right back down and do it again. One of these whales just doesn't like lifting its tail.
Right here.
See, one of those whales had its mouth just kind of cracked open a little bit, filtering on its way up. So hopefully you're noticing that there's no water coming out of the blowholes. That's just air coming out. That's how they breathe. Any of the water going in their mouth gets filtered back out their mouth.
Well, we just finished our 4-hour whale watch here in Newburyport, Massachusetts. We actually saw a ton of whales, which is really cool. So we started off with a couple of fin whales, which we saw a whole bunch of times. There were some right whales, which kept popping up. No, sorry, not right whales. There were some minke whales that kept popping up here and there.
there were a bunch of dolphins, which apparently they don't see very often. Even my parents that have gone on this whale watch a bunch of times haven't had a chance to see dolphins hardly ever while they were here. So that was a really cool, unique experience. There was a couple of humpback whales, including one named Spoon, which apparently they have seen like every year in this area. So a bunch of them. We got to see a little bit of a sunfish. There was all sorts of cool stuff. So it was a really cool experience, and we're glad to be able to come here. So thanks for sharing it with us, and hope you enjoy all the footage that I got a chance to cut in. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. We got a chance to see some whales and all sorts of cool stuff. It was a lot of fun. Now, granted, 4 hours on a rocking boat would have been a bit much for our stomachs. Luckily, we had some scopolamine patches to help us get through it. That was actually our first time using it, and I think it worked fairly well. But yeah, it was a fun experience. So thanks for coming along on that experience with us. Before I go, man, I've been busy with so many things. Everything from little projects around the house and some things that I'll eventually be sharing with you guys. But something else that's been taking up a fair amount of time has actually been really fun, and you're going to want to check it out, is this thing. It's Social Distancing Virtual Readers Theater. So we decided that given the world as we know it, some people would have some extra time and would want to be doing something social and maybe something theatrically related. And so Claire put together this amazing thing called Social Distancing Virtual Readers Theater, where essentially on the weekends, really Sunday, for 2 or 3 hours or whatever, people can get together, they choose a show, and you become a character and you read it. You read the lines right off the page. So you don't have to memorize any lines, but you get to do the acting, the reading, you get to be a character, and we're doing it all through Zoom. So through the web, it'll kind of automatically change the cameras back and forth and everything, and you get to see and hear a production being done. And she started that a number of weeks ago. It's even been kind of splitting the shows up into 2 halves, so we'll do like half of a show one week and then another half another week. And everything gets recorded together and pieced together and then eventually tossed out onto the internet. So yeah, you can either see it that way, or you can actually tune in live while this is still happening. Not sure how many more weeks it'll be going. But check out Socially Distancing Virtual Readers Theater. There's a group on Facebook. You can also check it out through YouTube. If you look that up, you'll be able to find it. We've done a number of shows so far, and it's been a lot of fun, because not only do you not have to have some serious acting chops, and you also don't have to learn your lines. Everybody's just hanging out at home, so it's kind of whatever outfits you've got kicking around your house that you can decide for a costume. Some people don't even do a costume. Some people just wearing a t-shirt or whatever. It's fine. It's low-key, but it's still a lot of fun. Another cool thing is you actually get to pick the part that you are going to be. There's no auditions. It's first come, first served. They throw up it's essentially a poll online. But the first person to insert their name into whatever character you want to do for whatever show, that's it. You get. Which is a really cool opportunity, because if you do theater, you have a certain type of person that you tend to be cast as, and you want to try something different. Maybe you normally wouldn't try a lead role. I've had the chance to do everything from just a drunken, evil bad guy to a kind of a court jester clown guy to like the romantic lead. I've gotten to play music, play guitar and all sorts of cool stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. And we've done a few shows so far that have been completed and put together and thrown online. A Midsummer Night's Dream, a lot of William Shakespeare, by the way, because nobody's like paying to do all these things. We're not charging tickets or anything like that, so we don't have money to buy the rights for like normal shows. So it has to be things that are kind of public domain. So yes, lots of William Shakespeare, like A Midsummer Night's Dream. After that, a non-Shakespeare play, we did The Importance of Being Earnest, which was actually a lot of fun. That was really cool. The Tempest, we have done Much Ado About Nothing. We've done, we did All's Well That Ends Well, and we are currently working on As You Like It as of the recording of this. Chances are by the time this episode has been put out, it will be completed, and who knows, maybe even out on the YouTube. So yeah, check it out on YouTube. Give it lots of likes, and feel free to subscribe to that if you really want to. And it's cool. It's some Shakespeare done by some regular cats and kittens, and so it's taken a bunch of time, but it's been a lot of fun. Another big thank you to all my supporters on Patreon. That's been really fantastic. You guys have really started to come through on that, and that's I am humbled. It's been amazing. I've already contacted some of our Patreon people as far as some input for how the show's going, because I've had some ideas one way or the other, and well, guess what? Once you join Patreon as a certain level, you actually get to help me out with some of the creative decisions. I've actually been sending out some of the monthly letters. We have another one coming right up around the corner. So other cool behind-the-scenes stuff and some kind of sneak previews of what's going to be happening beforehand. So it's been really cool to interact with everybody that way. So yeah, feel free to go up on Patreon, become a subscriber if you'd like, and get all the benefits that happen from it. Of course, there's all the rest of the social media that you know and love. Check us out on the Facebook at Rich Does a Thing. Please hit that subscribe button here on YouTube if you haven't already. We are getting so close to that 100 mark where we get the custom URL and everything, and that's a big, huge help. So please subscribe there. We have Rich Does a Thing on Instagram. Rich Does a Thing on the Snapchat, the Twitter, the Tumblr, pretty much any social media or video producing site that you can think of, even that one. We have a presence. We are there. So yes, check it out. Rich Does a Thing there. And until next time, Brannon Braga! I'm going to leave you to it, and thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.